Good morning. Until January 14th, 1952, this was early morning television. And then, exactly a half-century ago, America awoke to a bold new experiment in broadcasting called Today.
Today, January 14th, 1952, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Unforgettable.
Nat King Cole's Unforgettable was a hit song the day it all began. And since those first early hours, Today has been proud to bring its viewers 5 decades of unforgettable images.
There are faces in the news today.
So much has changed over the years, but this broadcast's purpose has not, to give Americans a quick read on their day in a changing world.
So we can give you an impression of the USA this morning.
It's been the same since our very first broadcast and our very first host, the man who started us all on this sentimental journey, Dave Garroway.
Well, here we are. Good morning to you. The very first good morning of what I hope and suspect will be a great many good mornings between you and I.
But even Dave Garroway might be astonished to know that was the first of more than 14,000 good mornings over the years, in good times and bad.
Good morning, this is Today.
Good morning again.
Good morning, I'm Jim Hartz here with Barbara Walters.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, I'm Jane Pauley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
We'll look back at how we got here as Today turns 50 today, Monday, the 14th of January, 2002.
From NBC News, this is a very special edition of Today, the 50th anniversary, with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And welcome, everyone, to this very, very special Monday morning here on Today.
As you've just seen, the show debuted back in 1952, and now after nearly 29,000 hours of live broadcasting, from the heart of Midtown Manhattan to the beaches of Hawaii to the Great Wall of China, here we are.
It's hard to believe. Meanwhile, inside Studio 1A, I'm Katie Couric. Good morning, everybody.
And I'm Matt Lauer. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Same to you. It's such an honor to be the current carriers of the flame. 50 years ago today was a groundbreaking broadcast from the momentous news events we've covered to the cultural icons with whom we've chatted, to the lighter, sillier moments. The hallmark of Today has been its curiosity and consistency, a constant connection between all of you, all of us, and the world on any given day.
So this morning you'll see history flash right before your eyes as we look back at some of the show's highlights through the eyes of many of the people who reported them over the past 5 decades. Tom Brokaw, Barbara Walters, Hugh Downs, Jim Hartz, Joe Garagiola, Jane Pauley, and Brian Gumbel will all be here. We'll talk to some viewers with memories of how the show touched their lives and meet some of the very first guests from that very first Today broadcast. Meanwhile, we've invited some well-heeled visitors who've often graced our show through the years to kick off the festivities.
Get you into a New York state of mind. Those, of course, are the fabulous Radio City Rockettes. We congratulate them on their 75th anniversary as they salute us on our 50th. We've a busy morning ahead. Cramming 50 years of Today into just 3 hours won't be easy. But first, let's get started as we have for nearly 14,000 broadcasts at the news desk with the latest overnight news. And today, Ann Curry. Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Katie and Matt. Good morning, everybody. There is news to get to this morning as well. The White House says President Bush is fine and is going ahead with a trip to the Midwest today, despite fainting on Sunday. NBC's David Gregory's at the White House with more on this. David, the president choked on a pretzel?
He did, and he was watching a football game in the residence of the White House when, according to his doctor, he swallowed a pretzel that didn't go down right. It actually caused him to faint. He fell off the couch. He bruised his lower lip, scraped his left cheek. He came to a few seconds later, called a nurse, went down on his own will to a doctor's office, got a full evaluation. Everything was fine. So what happened was, his doctor says, that a nerve was actually affected that lowered his heart rate to such a point that it actually caused him to faint. As you say, he is going ahead with his travel to the Midwest today. His doctor says really there's no reason to believe that this should happen again. One contributing factor may have been that he was feeling like he got a head cold this weekend. And
NBC's David Gregory, thank you this morning. Now let's go to NBC's science correspondent Robert Bazell. Bob, just how dangerous is an episode like this?
Well, the episode itself is not so dangerous, and the issue is whether the president has another underlying problem other than what the doctors have said. The fact that he bruised his chin and his lip is very important because it means that when he fell down, he didn't protect himself. He hit his face flat on the carpet. That doesn't mean that he hurt himself when that happened, but it does mean that he passed out completely cold. They're giving the president some more tests this morning, and they'll be monitoring very closely to find out if there is, in fact, another underlying problem that caused this. Men who are very healthy, like the president is in their 50s, don't pass out that often. So this could just be an isolated incident, but they want to check it out very carefully to make sure that there is no other problem.
NBC's Robert Bazell. Bob, thank you this morning. In other news this morning, the chairman of a Senate committee investigating the collapse of Enron says an accounting firm memo raises the possibility of obstruction of justice in the case. Senator Joseph Lieberman said that he's troubled that a memo from the accounting firm Arthur Andersen ordered the destruction of Enron documents. The accounting firm says it is committed to getting to the facts. Authorities say a Harvard University biologist whose body was found in the Mississippi River last month had fallen accidentally from a bridge. Don Wiley had been missing since November, and there were fears that he was a victim of terrorism because of his research on a number of deadly viruses. It is now 7:07. Let's now turn back to Matt. Katie, now.
All right, Ann, thank you very much.
So what was the weather like 50 years ago today?
It was actually fairly nice.
And what's it going to be like today?
Today will be pretty nice, too, although we've come a long way from drawing on a chalkboard map with the National Weather Service. We can show you little snowflakes falling around the Great Lakes. They're looking at 2 to 6 inches of snow in the central Great Lakes, wet weather from the Gulf Coast into the southeastern Atlantic states, and some wet weather in the Pacific Northwest as well, with fog in central California, gale force winds in northern New England. That's what's going on around the country. Latest weather now. Here's Kate.
Okay, Al, thank you so much. On Close-Up this morning, today turns 50. When this program took its bow on January 14th, 1952, it was the new kid on the block. Over the years, the faces have changed. Black and whites turned to color, and the world, it seems, has gotten both much bigger and more accessible. Through it all, the mission of today has remained unchanged.
Every evening at 6:15. Tuesday, March 31st. And near the end of this hour.
Manchester,
and take a look at some of these.
Like anybody, he's just taking
October 18th.
It began with a promise.
We want to try very much to put you more closely in touch with the world we live in, about the magnificent, unparalleled means of communication.
The means of communication were dazzling for their time. Newspapers flown in from around the country, fax machines, wire services.
Dave, now we've moved over in front of the loop terminal.
The first pictures didn't show much, but they were live.
There's the parking lot in front of the mall entrance.
The first news reports didn't make news.
Big news right here in Frankfurt is the weather.
But it wasn't long before today kept its promise, and millions of Americans woke up to the newsmakers of the day.
Do you think there is any chance of having a woman as a vice presidential candidate?
I hope not.
This is a great country, and I think it deserves the best of all of us.
The Negro himself must initiate many moves to end the long night of oppression.
When we see imperfection, you don't give up on your country. You don't give up on society. You don't try to destroy the system.
Do you want to be president when you grow up?
Can you stick around and talk with us?
Yeah.
In our next half hour?
Listen, I got work to do over here.
You know about dream cars?
In the daily effort to produce good television, Today became a chronicle of our age.
The highest peak in the world, Mount Everest, finally has been conquered by man.
Here is Barbara Walters with a report on the discotheque.
You're now looking at the fruit.
The most natural way to find God is through chemicals.
So the surface appears to be very fine-grained as you get close to it.
The world's first test tube baby has been born in England.
It's a silicon chip. It stores all the information and processes the information.
Egypt and Israel have agreed on the terms for peace. Now listen to the crowds as they emerge from St. Paul's Cathedral.
They have been partying all night in Berlin, celebrating the opening of the Berlin Wall.
Dolly may look like any other ordinary sheep.
Happy New Year.
January 1st, 2000.
Today helped viewers understand their world, which meant taking them along as they circled the globe.
Fly me to the moon.
This is Today in Romania.
That is the Parthenon.
The jewel of the Acropolis.
And our third day in Holland.
From the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
The banks of the River Thames.
Happy Easter, Your Holiness.
Ireland's Land's End.
Ici Paris.
Chanel, s'il vous plaît.
Salam alaikum.
Ohio gozaimasu. Dobre utro. Ni men hao.
No one can get to me. The fact is, the matter is...
That's pretty solid.
Lay off!
They're advancing on us.
One of the most amazing locations.
For Africa and from Africa. Peace.
I found that I still haven't
Finished.
Along the way, we've met the greatest.
I say go, we say 1, 2.
Okay.
Go.
1, 2.
You will see it again.
And the ones who would become great.
Hey, Tiger, what's Santa going to bring you?
1 hour and a tour.
I was feeling...
Hollywood idols stepped off their pedestals and let down their guard.
Yeah, I'll show you my walk if you show me your wiggle.
Well, Harpo, I know you have many and varied interests, and the harp is only one of them.
I'll just tell you what you do to imitate Betty Davis. It's very simple. You do a big town, just stay here. You're going to stay at the Hotel of World. What is it? Keep coming. And then you say, pizza.
I was not a walking beauty, and...
No, that's not true. You were a gorgeous...
My story, Jane, and I'm going to tell it.
It's your trademark not to smile. Would you smile for them just so they see?
No.
Are you shy?
Torture. Total.
Everything I read about you says that you are a compulsive worker and
I am.
compulsively ambitious.
I am. They say I'm controlling, and I'm difficult.
I don't get the feeling that you think of yourself as a Ferrari.
No, I think Volkswagen.
I'm a very committed wife.
Ruchkits are not merely the coolest, the finest, and the best cigarettes in Russia. They are the only cigarettes.
That cigar costs $1.25.
If I paid $1.25 for a cigar, first I'd kiss it, then I'd smoke it.
In 1956, the legendary Duke Ellington got the studio snapping. 45 years later, pop star Ricky Martin packed the plaza.
She's back. Ooh, baby, when she moves, I go crazy because she looks like a flower, but she stings like a bee, like every girl in history.
Next.
Chef's delight.
Filter fish.
Skink. Rump bump.
What a way to go.
You got cooking.
Wrapped in tuna?
You're at least 6 feet tall.
Did you make it yourself?
From the Military Nerve Center at Strategic Air Command
In the first live telecast ever from here.
to the inner sanctum of the Vatican.
We are very happy to meet you today.
Today stretched the reach of live TV.
The actual inauguration just hours away of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
This is the first picture on Today from the new Vidicon miniature television camera.
For the first time on national television, you will witness a kidney transplant operation.
It's the first ever live broadcast from an American aircraft carrier at sea. Ann skydives live on national television. She'll free fall for about 1 minute. They're traveling at 120 miles an hour.
Now this is cotton flannel.
And on live TV, Today took other chances confronting the tough topics of the day.
1 week ago today, 9 Negro students were turned away from a white high school in Little Rock, Arkansas by National Guardsmen.
This young man is high on a drug called angel dust.
I like it.
You're saying, if I'm understanding you, it is possible that homosexuals are actually born that way.
Air pollution has been connected with a variety of respiratory diseases, including cancer.
We'd like to continue our week-long series on AIDS
Colons and rectums are not exactly the stuff of breakfast table conversation. In times of crisis, today has united us.
The shot rang out and he slumped down in the seat.
The President of the United States is dead. The nation and the world is in mourning.
American servicemen in Vietnam suffered nearly 1,200 casualties last week, the highest weekly total of the war.
Would a doctor come right here?
Some of Kennedy's aides immediately seized the suspect.
His resignation as the 37th President of the United States takes effect at noon today. There he is here in Washington, a great sense of relief.
Iranian students continue to hold more than 50 hostages at the American Embassy in Tehran this morning.
We will be devoting our entire 2 hours today to an examination of the space shuttle tragedy.
Terrible pictures. Violence erupted after the acquittal of 4 white policemen in the beating trial of black motorist Rodney King. Welcome to today on what is a very grim Thursday morning. You can see the federal building right behind me.
She almost had a natural ability to reach out and comfort people.
I did not.
The great story here is this vast right-wing conspiracy.
Enough votes in the House right now to impeach. We have a breaking news story to tell you about. A plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center.
Oh, another one just hit.
The most shocking videotape I've ever seen.
The faces on the screen have become America's extended family, handing down an institution from one generation to the next. The faces through the window have changed too, but not really. Then and now, they're all of us, excited to be on TV, proud of their loved ones, hailing from every corner of the country.
I'm from Jones. I'm from Raleigh.
Chicago.
Alabama.
I'm from the Bronx.
Thank you for watching, and peace.
And after watching that, we all have just one thing to say. Wow. It's incredible. That gives me chills. Of course, back then, the crowd was a big part of the Today Show, just as it is today. Let's go outside to Matt for more on that. Matt?
Katie, actually one of the first people to stop by our show after it debuted in the 1950s was this woman right here. She was 25 at the time. She's back 50 years later. This is Charlotte Pernick. Charlotte, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, and great to be here and to enjoy this day and the celebration.
You remember watching the very first day of the Today Show. What was it like for you?
It was all in black and white. We had a little tiny TV set, and I can remember Dave Garraway, Jacqueline Cooley, Frank Blair. It was so interesting, and like he says, this is the first time they're doing news on TV. It might last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, but it's all in its new beginnings.
And about a year after you watched that first show, you came to New York and you said, I must go to the window.
Exactly right. We came to the window.
And you stared inside. What was that like?
It was all, again, black and white. And they were sitting at a long table. And
was there a big crowd here?
A little bit, a small group, not compared to what it is nowadays, and nobody ever had any signs or anything. And it was so interesting. And then after the program, John and I were standing around, and the 2 trainers came out with J. Fred Muggs and asked us if we wanted to meet him, and we said certainly, and naturally we took a picture. And
actually the pictures you've saved all these years, I think we've got them. You have them right here with you?
Yes,
there he is right there.
Oh, there it is.
He was a cute little devil.
Yes, he was.
and didn't Willard actually wish your mom a happy birthday one year?
Yes, back in July 1995, Willard wished Mom 101 birthday wishes, and I'm hoping he can do this 25 years from now to wish me 100.
We'll do better. Not only will Willard wish it to you, you come on down here, we'll celebrate it with you.
Okay,
all right?
Great.
And I want to mention you brought a lot of your family with you, and Charlotte, what a pleasure to meet you.
May I say something?
You may.
I think I represent the generation that showed and seen this television show 50 years ago. And may I say, it's you, Matt, Katie, Al, and Ann, and Willard that will continue to make this show what it is, and it will continue for another 50 years. And happy birthday
From your
today.
mouth to God's ear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Katie, back into you. Great job.
Thanks very much. We'll be back with more of Today in a moment. This is Today on NBC.
There's more of today's 50th anniversary when we come back. The early Tom Brokaw.
A look in the street on 49th Street, followed by 12 NBC Page Boys. There comes the regal carriage. I see Mary Kelly and the boys. And perched up on the back between the two boys, I see a glimpse of His Majesty. There's Mary getting down. Come on in, old boy. And Buddy Manella and Roy Waldron and the King.
That was the famous Today Show chimp J. Fred Muggs triumphantly returning from his world tour back in 1954. Where in the world was J. Fred Muggs? Now, 48 years later, we've evolved, as you can see from the Homo sapiens hanging outside our studio windows on this Monday morning. And back inside Studio 1A, I'm Matt Lauer, along with Katie Kirk and Ann Curry. We are, in case you didn't realize it, celebrating our 50th anniversary this Monday morning. It's the 14th of January, 2002.
Of course, J. Fred Muggs was on Today for 4.5 years, originally brought aboard to bolster sagging ratings. We, of course, would never stoop to such shameless monkey business. We would never do that, except perhaps on our birthday. Oh, hi, Jonah. Nice to see you.
Jonah? Oh, Jonah.
This is Jonah. He's 6 years old, and he is our... Oh, hello, Jonah. Why don't you sit next to me? Getting a little overexcited. He is our own version of J. Fred Muggs. He lives in a ranch in California, and we thought it was only appropriate for our 50th birthday that we have a J. Fred Muggs look-alike here. Isn't he sweet?
He is the sweetest thing I have ever seen.
And maybe you can hand me a few of those grapes because... oh, hi, Jonah. Apparently, Jonah enjoys grapes. And it was funny, I was reading... would you like one?
According to the literature, it said he enjoys grapes.
There we go. It was funny, I was reading about J. Fred Muggs, who... Come back here, Jonah. Oh, he wants to go to you, Matt. There you go.
And what...
You could have
J. Fred Muggs retired after 4.5 years. The press release said it was to expand his personal horizons. He moved to Florida, but apparently J. Fred Muggs has gotten a little ornery towards the end. We cannot say the same for Jonah, who's sweet as can be. By the way, he played Pericles in Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg.
Here, Jonah. Do you know that at the end of his tenure here, J. Fred Muggs had learned the tally light system on the cameras.
That's right.
He knew which camera was on him. He also knew that if he misbehaved, when the tally light was on, he couldn't be punished.
That's
true.
true.
No one would do anything. He'd wait till after that, and then he'd run for his life off the set.
He was apparently so smart. Lee Merriweather said that she was on a plane with him once, and the sun came streaming into the plane. Hi, Jonah. And he pulled the window. Hello, everybody.
Okay, Jonah, thank you very much.
I say we bring back J. Fred Muggs to the show.
Anyway, Matt, why don't you tell folks what's coming up in this half hour?
He's got my arm caught between him and Ann. Coming up in this half hour, we're going to pay tribute to the man who's responsible for all this craziness, the pioneer who had the idea for the Today Show, and by the way, the Tonight Show as well, and the Home Show. His famous daughter will help us salute him.
Also, some past anchors of today, Barbara Walters, Hugh Downs, Tom Brokaw, and Jim Hartz will stop by. So we can say to them, thanks for the memories. Right now, Ellie and Carrie are saying, oh, Mom, can you bring them home? Forget it! Hi.
First,
how you doing, Jonah?
Let's go out to the plaza for a quick check of the weather with Al.
Today's weather is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Nothing gets you going like the smooth, mellow taste of Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Wow, talking about that little monkey love there. They're spreading the love. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Cosby. How are you, sir?
Cold.
Cold.
Yes. Al.
Yes, sir.
Al, let's get another job.
No, this is the best.
No, we can't stay out here.
No, we have to
All
stay
the
out.
white people are inside, Al. This is not good,
You
Al.
finally figured it out for me.
I knew it. Hey, we got to go to, let's go to Green Bay. Yeah.
Well, it's so nice of you to stop by and celebrate our 50th with us.
Good. I'm glad you've been drinking. Yes, I was 14 years old and the worst student at Central High School in Philadelphia.
And how has the Today Show changed your life?
Well, I stopped a lot of things, but mostly I've kept up some things like running watery eyes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you brought us a little something?
Yes, this is for you and the guys. For Katie, Payard, or whatever. It's jelly and the powder has been checked out. Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Cosby.
Alex.
That's what's going on around the country. Original directors, when we first started in 1952, Joe Michaels, his mom is here. How are you, Mrs. Michaels?
I'm fine, thank you, Alan. It's really fun to be here today.
Well, you look lovely.
Thank you so much.
Very
thank
nice.
you.
All right.
And it's so good to see you.
Well, it's good to be seen, but now we have to see Matt.
All right, Al, thank you very much. 50 years ago, there was no such thing as morning television, and the medium was in its infancy. Radio was king, and then an NBC executive named Sylvester Pat Weaver came along with a vision to make today a milestone in this country's social history.
We are in NBC's World Communications Center in the heart of Radio City, New York.
The New York Times called the broadcast a spectacular gamble.
I really believe begins a new kind of television.
And it was.
Hello, I'm Pat Weaver.
But Pat Weaver, a former advertising executive, was determined to inaugurate a new era of television programming.
I think those of us who had been running the business knew that radio was absolutely marvelous, but it was blind. Therefore, you could be there, but only with your ears. And while that meant that a lot of things could happen that were fun to do in radio, it would be marvelous to really let people see the world, every man a member of the elite, because everybody will be at the opera, at the ballet, at the concert hall. Everybody will see the great political events.
Always do better.
We attempt to make visual the most important events of the day in a manner which will adjust the person to the fascinating world that he's going to face that day. And it's getting more fascinating and more complex every day. I hardly need tell you.
The basic concept was that everybody, when they got up in the morning, they wanted to know what was new today. They would turn on the set, because in the course of time, we would show them the new book, the new movie. We would introduce them to these big people. We would show them in the news world what had happened, where. We would go there, we would show them what it looked like, we would introduce them to new ideas that had come up, and we would also do it with a light spirit. They really would have a tremendous head start over other people if they saw the Today Show.
That was Pat Weaver's far-fetched idea 50 years ago. It's still our mission today. We're sorry that Pat isn't with us this morning, but we're pleased to welcome his daughter, Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney, nice to see you.
So happy to be here.
Most importantly, how's your dad doing?
He's doing very well. We just celebrated his 93rd birthday, and he's, I'm sure he's watching, and very excited about this anniversary, the 50th anniversary. It's great.
Do you think he's surprised at the show's longevity?
No, actually, I don't think he is, because I think finally, actually, we have the technology to do what my father envisioned, which was, in 15 minutes to half an hour, take someone around the world to the Olympics, or take someone around the world to the Great Wall of China and give you information, amuse you, and as he said, lighten your heart and spirit.
Your dad is a visionary. I mean, he's been called a genius, a pioneer, but certainly a visionary. He had an ability to see the future at a time when a lot of people in broadcasting weren't looking that far ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Still that way?
He's still that way. I feel like he's probably more comfortable being in this century than anyone else I know. And very excited about it still at 93 and all the opportunities that people have.
He obviously is someone who came up with The Tonight Show, with The Home Show as well. He had a difficult time with this show, though, convincing the affiliates that it would work.
Yeah, this was a big gamble. I think they called it Weaver's Folly for quite a while. And so I think he's very pleased. He also felt it was very important to pick the right people. So you could be shaving or eating breakfast with people who would make you comfortable. So I think the hosts have had a lot to do with it, you know.
I want to mention that you're performing at a benefit tonight for a special theater down close to Ground Zero, and that's been very hard hit since the September 11th attacks.
Yes, we're holding a benefit at the New Victory for the Flea Theater, which is down on 41 White Street, and we have a whole sort of hit parade of all the things that have played at the Flea, and we're getting a tremendous amount of support from people. It's going to be an exciting night.
Well, I want to thank you for coming today and sharing a little bit of Pat's vision with us, and if you're correct and your dad watches every day, Mr. Weaver, hats off to you, and thank you very much. Sigourney, thanks. We're back after this.
Today's 50th anniversary moment is brought to you by Royal Caribbean. Get out there and take a Royal Caribbean vacation.
And we are privileged and honored this morning to welcome some very important members of the Today Alumni Association. You may have heard of a few of them. Barbara Walters started on Today as a writer-researcher, did her first on-air spots in 1962, and stayed for 14 years until 1976. Something to me. Hugh did Something for Us. Mr. Downs was the host from 1962 until 1971. Tommy, can you see me? Our Tommy, Brokaw that is, was here from 1976 until 1982.
You gotta have heart.
Or Hearts. Our friend Jim Hartz was here for 2 years, beginning in 1974. Barbara, Hugh, Jim, Tom, good morning. Thank you all so much for being here and being part of this celebration. Great to see all of you. Barbara, let me start with you. You started as a writer, as I mentioned. You got your first on-air story back, I think, in 1962, covering Paris fashions. We've come a long way, baby. What was it like for a woman back then?
Well, in those days, when I first began as a writer, I was only allowed to write for the women. When Hugh came on the program, I wrote at that time, that was the big breakthrough. I could write for the men. And I wrote the introduction for Hugh.
Welcome to the program, yeah.
And then later, I worked with Jim. And we worked a little bit together.
Temporarily during one summer when you were taking leave of this place, they brought me in here and to stop the hemorrhage.
Wow. I worked with some great men. But you know, it was so different. First of all, there was the woman was not named co-host. I was not named co-host until 2 years before I left. And now, fortunately, all of the women and men are equal.
Which is nice.
And then there was a time when I couldn't even, not with either of these men, but there was a time when I was not allowed to ask the hard news question until the host then,
Frank McGee,
had asked 3 questions. It went all the way up to the president of NBC, who said, that's the way it should be. Barbara cannot come in until the 4th question.
Thank goodness that dog would not hunt today. Anyway, Hugh, you were an enlightened man back then because you were the co-anchor when Barbara was just starting to get on air, and you really helped her along, didn't you? So hats off to you.
Actually, when they were combing a roster of movie people to replace Maureen O'Sullivan, and I said, why don't we develop our own talent? And they said, such as. And I said, such as Barbara Walters. And they said, she's a writer. But I knew, and I don't take credit for discovering Barbara. She discovered herself.
Well, you obviously helped her along. Meanwhile, you were the co-anchor during one of the most turbulent times in history, the 60s.
Yeah, I anchored the show at a time that a lot was happening. Sure, there was assassinations, and it was. Of course, there's a lot of news now too.
But it was really quite amazing. I know you're very proud of this interview you did with the Reverend Martin Luther King.
Yeah, that was an in-depth thing that showed me that he was working for the human race, not just the black race.
Meanwhile, you all traveled quite a bit together, you and Barbara.
We covered the world, didn't we?
Greece to Romania to Japan. Why were those shows so important in your view back then?
Well, it showed Today was expanding itself to the world, and we had a chance to see the world and show people who tuned in what all was going on.
And the fact that technology allowed you to do that was pretty amazing for that time.
We did the first satellite interview,
that's right, yes. For a regular show from the Buckingham Palace. Yeah. That was an interesting
And it rained wherever we went. You always said there's a fine veil of mist, remember? It was pouring.
Looking on the bright side. You, of course, became one of the most celebrated and well-known journalists in the world, interviewing people like Henry Kissinger, the Eisenhowers. I watched that interview the other day. Judy Garland, but there was a particularly poignant interview you did with Princess Grace back in the 60s. Tell me about that, Barbara.
Your Highness, what do you...
It was the first interview, and I think perhaps the only interview that she did for television, and it was very difficult because she was not used to answering questions. And at the end of it, I don't know whether you have this on tape, I said to her, "Are you happy?" I can't remember any interviews. I do remember this. And she said, "I have a certain peace of mind." And this was after she was her Serene Highness.
Later she cried, didn't she?
Later she cried.
It was over after the camera started.
She cried, and I wanted to cry. She said, and the questions were not difficult questions, but it was so hard for her. At that point, she was so used to having to keep everything inside to then be questioned. It was one of the unhappier interviews that I did, as lovely as she was.
She was so beautiful. Jim, I know you came on board in 1974 after a very successful stint as a local New York anchor. One of your biggest assignments during that time was the bicentennial.
Right.
That must have been so much fun to cover, Jim.
It really was. We went to every state in the Union during a period between 1975 up to the bicentennial, 1976, and did a live show every Friday morning. And you were talking about the rain, you, Barbara. We did those shows. We had one rain day in a year, and we were outdoors every Friday in every state of the Union.
Wow.
One rain day, and it was in New York, as a matter of fact.
Well, you were very lucky. What is your fondest memory of being on the show? Is there anything that sticks out for you?
Well, yeah, Alaska, Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington. Tell me when to stop. No, that was the high point. We did the bicentennial, and it was like seeing the nation all in one moment in its 200th birthday.
So patriotic and exciting.
Yeah.
Tom, meanwhile, along comes Tommy in 1976. And the hours were really a tough adjustment for you, weren't they?
Well, I'd been covering the White House and was used to a whole different schedule and a whole different mindset. And not too long after I assumed the job on this program, people will find this hard to believe these days, given your very tight organization, but I overslept one morning, and no one seemed to notice. They just started the show without me. It was a little unsettling. I went back and reviewed my contract.
On a more serious note, I know that you covered this country in very troubling times, and the assassination attempts on President Reagan and the Pope, the assassination of Anwar Sadat. But the show that followed the assassination of John Lennon was particularly memorable for you.
Yeah, it happened in the middle of the night. John Lennon was assassinated on the Upper West Side of New York, and it did demonstrate to me a couple of things. One was the enormous impact, obviously, of the Beatles around the world, and we overnight scrambled and went everywhere in the world the next day. The full 2 hours was devoted to John Lennon, and I always thought that was kind of a sea change, because today responded so magnificently, not to a political figure, but to a critically important cultural figure of our time, and it took us in another direction, I think.
Meanwhile, of course, it's become part of broadcasting lore, the interview that broke the camel's back that made you say, "I've had it, enough is enough," is that great interview you did with Charlene Tilton.
Yeah, I didn't know who Charlene Tilton was. She was a cast member of Dallas, and I guess she was primarily known for her T-shirts. And I had come from a more traditional journalist background, and you can see the body language there.
You were not feeling so comfortable.
And I thought it was probably time for me to go back and do what I did. But I love doing this broadcast because it had opened so many new areas to me in so many ways, culturally, the theater, books that I wouldn't have read, people that I got to meet.
And world events you got to cover.
And world events that I got to cover,
well,
right.
Tom
I think it's the best job there is.
I think it's a fabulous job,
I'm
too.
very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's so great to see all of you. Barbara, Hugh, Jim,
There is
Sean.
one big difference between then and now, obviously, that the audience, we all made a lot more money.
No, I knew that was coming.
And we all had darker hair. That's the truth.
Yeah. Same with me. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you all. We'll be back with more of our very special 50th anniversary edition of Today right after this.
Still to come, Today alums Jane Pauley, Bryant Gumbel, Joe Garagiola, and a lot more surprises.
I hope you have as much fun talking with them as I had talking with my group. They were so terrific. And also, so to come on this very, very special 50th anniversary, filmmaker Ken Burns turns his cameras on Today. But first, these messages.
This is a new program if you've just arisen and find your TV set working instead of a test pattern, called today from the NBC Communications Center in Radio City, New York, from the RCA exhibition.
That, of course, is Dave Garroway, the first captain who guided us on this sentimental journey, introducing America to this program exactly 50 years ago today, January the 14th, 1952. And welcome back, everyone, to this very special golden anniversary edition of Today, Monday, January the 14th. The year now, of course, is 2002. I'm Katie Couric, along with Matt Lauer, and right now we're standing on a replica of the original set that was used 50 years ago. This is what Dave Garroway's desk looked like, although the studio was a bit larger in those days. This is a smaller version. And talk about technology. Right around my neck is the microphone that Dave Garroway, or a similar microphone that Dave Garroway would use 50 years ago. Looks like some kind of surgical device or something you might find at the dentist's office. It's a little cumbersome, to say the least.
There's the ones we use these days. We've come a long way, baby, again. By the way, speaking of technology, take a look. They were very proud of the fact back in 1952 that through something called telefax, they could get West Coast newspapers here on the East Coast. You're looking at one right there. That's an East Coast paper. Plane hits New York River, saved 36. That was in most of the East Coast papers that morning. If you look up, Barry, there's a West Coast paper. The worst storm in 62 years hit San Francisco, apparently a major rainstorm, and they were very proud of the fact that they could show you that at 7 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast.
That's how they brought everyone the news of the world. As soon as the show went on the air, needless to say, viewers started to come to the window to get a first-hand peek, to wave, to hold signs, to wish their loved ones a happy birthday. There they are. They came in droves, and of course, they're doing the same thing today, and we can show you our visitors in color.
We should also tell you this isn't exactly where Dave Garroway's studio was. We're in the NBC Experience, the store across from Studio 1A right now. The original studio was just across the street from us here, just down the block from where we are now in Studio 1A. Christie's Auction House occupies that space today in New York City, but that's where Dave Garroway was 50 years ago right now.
You really do get a sense of what Dave Garroway experienced with all the faces in the crowd sort of staring at you like you're an animal in the zoo.
And
Hi.
by the way, this exhibit's going to stay up, and actually fans of the show can come by the NBC Experience and sit down and see what it must have felt like 50 years ago.
Do a little time travel of their own.
Exactly. Coming up in this half hour, we're going to meet some guests. They were part of the very first broadcast of Today 52 years ago, a family having to do with the Korean War. We'll find out what they've been up to in 50 years and what their memories of that broadcast are in just a few minutes.
And Matt Ken Burns will join us. He, of course, is known for his meticulously detailed and award-winning documentaries covering things like the Civil War and baseball, among others. So we asked the man with an eye for history to turn his camera on us as we celebrate the Big 5-0. We'll see Ken's finished product in just a few minutes. But first, let's get the top news stories of the morning from Ann Curry across the street and over at the news desk. Ann, good morning again.
Good morning again, Katie. And Matt, good morning once again, everybody. In the news, some important news to get to. This morning, a White House spokesman said President Bush is fine and is proceeding on a two-day Midwest swing today despite a fainting spell on Sunday. Doctors say the president choked on a pretzel while watching a football game. His heart rate decreased temporarily, and he fell off a couch, bruising his face. He was alone at the time and says he came to just a few seconds later. Thomas Junta faces up to 20 years in prison after being found guilty of involuntary manslaughter last Friday and the beating death of another father at their son's hockey practice. This morning, I asked prosecutor Martha Coakley what message the verdict sends.
When the incident first occurred, it was a clear wake-up call to everybody that whatever was happening in children's sports was going a little bit too far. Clearly, now that the jury has held Thomas Junta accountable for that killing, my hope is that people will take this into account and frankly, that we won't see another parent on an autopsy table.
Sentencing for Thomas Junta is set for a week from this Friday. Singer Rosemary Clooney is recovering at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota today after undergoing successful lung cancer surgery. The 73-year-old Clooney had part of one lung removed. Her agent says she is doing very well. And 10 Boy Scouts and their 2 adult leaders are safe and sound today after they got stranded over the weekend in the woods north of Orlando. They underestimated how long a canoe trip would take and had to camp overnight in the cold and the rain with no food, tents, sleeping bags, or warm clothing. Rescuers found them the next day, chilly but unhurt. It is now 8:05 and time for today's weather. and Al.
Today's weather is brought to you by America's Egg Farmers and the incredible edible egg.
And good morning, everybody. A lovely morning here. And you obviously were too young when the show first started, I'm sure. What's your name?
My name's Jeremy.
Where are you from?
Arkansas.
Having a good time?
Pretty much, yes.
Pretty much, yes. Well, of course, pretty much, yes. Let's take a look and show you what's going on as far as our weather is concerned, and you'll see that we are looking for windy conditions in the plains, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow in the central Great Lakes, fog in central California. Look for some snow interior New York State, and a lot of wet weather in the Gulf Coast on into the southeastern Atlantic states. That's what's going on around the country. In 50 years, we got another group of stars starting to get ready to watch the show. All right, let's head back inside the map.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Right now, we're worried about our troops over in Afghanistan. Well, 50 years ago, American soldiers were halfway around the world fighting another battle. Let's take a look at how it was handled on Today back in 1952.
I'd like to tell you just a little bit about what you're going to see on Today in the next half hour. I'd like to tell you, first of all, that you're going to get records and the time with your morning coffee, and you're going to have a visit with a family here in New York who will be looking at their son in Korea. That's all coming up in your way in the next half hour. Now here's Dave Garroway.
Now, those guests he referred to were the first ever to appear on the Today Show. A few days before that first broadcast, a family here in New York spoke to their son, a soldier in Korea, by phone. An NBC cameraman in Seoul recorded it on film and sent it back to the U.S.
Hello, Mom.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
When are you coming home?
I'll be home soon, Mom. Don't worry about it.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, Mom.
The family then came to our studio to watch the film of that call alongside Dave Garroway. The young soldier from that film, his brother, and one of his sisters, whom you heard on that tape, are back here again live in the studio after 50 years. Mickey and Bill Sinnott, Marge Auld, good morning. Nice to see you all.
Good morning.
You've already got tears in your eyes. We just started. Mickey is a nickname, correct?
Yes.
Your real name's Daniel, which meant we had a little trouble tracking you down over the last several months.
Yes, you were looking for Mickey Sinnott, and what happened, you got a hold of my sister-in-law, and she says, well, my uncle, we have a Mickey. And then my sister-in-law called me, and she said, I think it's a phony call or something. It sounds like a hoax. And she says, but if you want to follow it up, so I says, oh, no, that's me. I said, I know what they're talking about.
You were fighting in Korea,
yes,
had been on the front lines. They came and got you and said, look, you're going to be part of a television show. You didn't know much more than that, did you?
No. I was on the front lines, and we were up there for about 8 days. I didn't bathe or anything, and they just said, come on, you got to go back to Seoul. So when I got back to headquarters platoon, the first sergeant looked at me, he said, boy, we got to put some stripes on you. He says, so with safety pins, they put the sergeant's stripes on.
Gave you a shave and a shower?
No.
No?
No, I went back, I had to hop in the Jeep, and I went back to Seoul, and we asked the MP for directions to the general's headquarters, and he looked at me, and he says, what the heck is going on here? So I said, I have to go to the general's headquarters. He says, you better shape up. You got 24 hours.
Marge, what do you remember about your family heading to the television studio that day to take the call from your brother?
Oh, it was like, you know, my mother was very excited. We didn't think we would talk to him for a long time. And I guess they sent us a telegram because nobody had a phone or a TV at the time. And it was very, very exciting.
Bill, you were, what, about a year and a half old at the time, so you don't remember much about the actual day, but what has your family told you? What stories did you hear about this event as you were growing up?
That we were on TV, you know, a long time ago.
Famous in the neighborhood?
Yeah. They took it like everyone else with a grain of salt, like, yeah, sure, we were on TV. You know.
Mickey, when you listened to the call, your mom and dad were very emotional people. Yeah. Your mom was obviously crying. She was so worried about you. Your dad broke up as well because he was concerned, and he said, son, when you come back, we're going to go on a fishing trip. And I know it was hard for you to listen to that in Seoul as well.
Yeah. Yes. It broke me up too, but when I did get home, we did go fishing. And it was, we had a good time.
You folks passed away?
Yeah.
Along with some of your siblings as well over these years. The tape of that, or the film of that day, was lost. Is that right?
Yes, yes. We had the film of me in Korea, and it was 16 millimeter. And when Stephanie, the producer, when I got in touch with her, I says, we have the film, and she says, oh, that's great.
Marge, what would it mean to your parents to know that 50 years after that date, the three of you are sitting back on live television?
My mother would have been so proud of all of us. And she really, that was one thing in her life that you did for her. You really made her feel wonderful. It was really a wonderful, wonderful thing you did for her. She just, you know, to see your son, and she had two boys. She had one in the Navy and one in the and it was, Dave Garraway was just the most wonderful person in the world to us that day that I remember.
Well, we want to thank you all for coming. We're happy you made it back from Korea safely, and
yes.
We're awfully happy that you joined us again 50 years after the date.
And you know, you had 5 people that were supposed to be on, and 3 died before the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mickey, Marge, Bill, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary to you as well. It's 11 past the hour. Up next, Ken Burns looks back at 50 years of today, right after this.
Today's 50th anniversary moment is brought to you by Royal Caribbean. Get out there and take a Royal Caribbean vacation.
Mark Twain once said, man is the only animal that blushes or needs to. He's the subject of the latest Ken Burns documentary that airs tonight and tomorrow on PBS. If Mr. Twain were here on this occasion, he would no doubt be delivering his wry observations about our fair program. But since that's not possible, we asked his current alter ego to reflect on today's past and present. Ken Burns, good morning.
Good morning. I'm so grateful you've asked me to help celebrate 50 years of the Today Show. And with the help of Today producer Andre Poulin and editor Gary Simmons, I've made this Valentine for you all. I'm just a year and a half younger than the show itself, so I can't remember a time when it wasn't a part of my life, marking time over the past tumultuous half-century. Anniversaries are hugely important, but in view of what happened to our nation on September 11th, the most important event in American history in the last 50 years, I felt the only way I could do this piece and celebrate the show's glorious past was to roll back time a few months, and if only for a moment or two, undo the damage of that terrible day.
This is Today.
NBC begins a new program called Today, and if it doesn't sound too revolutionary, I really believe it begins a new kind of television.
It's a very special show, and I really think that people feel both privileged and honored to be associated with this program. I also think they feel an enormous amount of responsibility. And I think one of the reasons they feel so honored is because of the show's incredibly rich history.
There was this window on the world beginning at 7 o'clock in the morning with this most engaging man called David Garraway. And I have this fixed memory of coming down, racing off to school in the morning with my mother ironing something or fixing breakfast before she went to work, and the two of us would watch the Today Show. It was magic to me. Jane Pauley, the newest addition to the Today family, has a chance now to say a few words of her own about...
I'd wake up more years than I would admit, put my feet on the floor, be conscious of the fact that I was now going to do the Today Show, and shudder in disbelief. By the time I left home, I was fine and confident, but The Today Show was so large.
I remember as a viewer, not as a member of the team, when I would turn on the set at 7:50 and count down that last 60 seconds and I'd hear, "Good morning," I'd know everything was okay.
When Jane Pauley and I were doing it together, we had to form our family. She was a young, attractive, single woman from Chicago, had never been on the network before. I had been doing something else altogether differently. I was a hard news correspondent at the White House. So it took us a little while to find our rhythm as a family. But then it worked best when we did that.
I love what I'm doing, but to be part of an ensemble like that, especially when it's really clicking, is just unbeatable.
This is Today with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer.
That's your version.
I felt a little like a stepchild. I felt like, why do I deserve to be in this great family? I've grown to feel much more a part of the family, and it truly gets better as we share in each other's lives throughout the year.
I think the Today Show really is a constant in a constantly changing world, and it's just an opportunity for Americans who watch to get a glimpse of the world around them.
There is a late development in the attempted assassination of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat.
I was on the morning. We got word that Sadat had been shot at and then had been killed.
Several shots rang out.
I was on the morning that the Pope was almost killed. But then I was on for other joyous occasions.
We can see Anita Hill testifying.
I do.
And all of a sudden, we can talk about sexual harassment in a very real way.
Matthew was the type of person.
We can look at
If this had happened to
how
another person.
gays in America are treated when we talk about the brutal murder of Matthew Shepard.
The events that have the most impact for me are the events that unfold while we're on the air. The earthquake, elements of the war in the Persian Gulf, of course, September 11th.
There's a lot of frivolity and levity on the show, and I think that those are major components of what makes the show a success.
The hours are the worst part of the job. I mean, everybody who's ever sat in this chair will tell you, you never get used to waking up at 4 in the morning.
The worst part is that every day, as I described it, you take your oral exams in front of the entire audience on whatever has happened in the last 24 hours in the news and the popular culture. On the other hand, look, I fixed a Christmas dinner with Julia Child and drank a half a bottle of wine with her. That was one of the great times of my life.
Leaving. It was. Leaving was the worst part.
We've laughed a lot on this show. We've cried a lot on this show. I think we've thought a lot on this show. And I think the fact that we do run the emotional gamut makes it very fulfilling, not only for us, but for the viewer, too. It's the 11th day of September of the year 2001 on a beautiful early fall morning here in Manhattan. If only you could turn back the clock.
Oh, it would be so great, too, just for a second and have it undone.
Well, Ken Burns, thank you so much for doing that for us, and it was a Valentine.
It
helped
was.
us look back and remember and understand even more why we love this job so
Thank
much.
you. Well, that's not it. I've got another 20 hours and 10 parts. I know we have time to fit it
Honey,
in.
save it for PBS. Thanks, Ken. We'll be back with more of this special Golden Anniversary edition of Today right after these messages.
We're back at 8:30 on a Monday morning. It's the 14th day of January 2002. Lots of balloons in the plaza area, lots of festivity. The reason being that all morning long, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of this program we call Today.
And right now you're listening to Frank Sinatra singing The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, which was a big hit 50 years ago, back in 1952. So we thank Old Blue Eyes for helping us celebrate.
And we want to thank all the people for bringing this, what was that? For bringing the signs down that wish us a happy anniversary. Some people went a little further. Katie, take a look at these cakes. Look at this beauty right here. Did you make this?
It's actually a Pillsbury cake we brought for the 50th anniversary to help you celebrate. And it brought it all the way down.
You're blocking the cake.
I'm sorry.
No,
Thank you.
Well,
It's really good. I actually took a little taste of the icing. It's fantastic.
Delicious, delicious.
And look at this one. This is beautiful. Not edible.
No, not edible. We made it inside at Irene Hayes.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Matt, thank you so much. We've got to move on because we've got a very special person who wants to wish us well down the block. I understand that Jane Clayson is standing by. Jane, sorry to keep you waiting. Hi.
Hi, good morning. Congratulations, you two, on a big anniversary.
Thank you very much.
You look pretty good for being 50.
Don't start with us, all right? Hey, how come you're standing there or sitting there alone this morning, Jane?
I know, I'm awfully lonely. Do you have a friend over there you want to show me?
Well, your partner in crime has moseyed on down to our neck of the woods, as Al Roker would say, to say hi. Welcome back. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, sweetheart. How you doing?
Thank you for coming.
Are you kidding? I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
This is a real treat. Not only are you here, but Miss Polly is here as well.
Jane.
Jane Polly, come on down.
And actually, in this coming half hour, we're going to talk to Bryant and Jane, and Joe Garagiola going to be here. We're going to have a little time to reminisce.
I guess we're the seniors here. That's why we're doing this. Yeah, we're in the senior section.
We want to say a big thank you to your colleague, Jane Clayson. That was awfully gracious and sweet for her to stand by and wish us well. Jane, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Matt. How does it feel to be back, Brian?
Well, I don't know. You see, having Katie and Matt here means I don't have to bring a note when I come back. See, I have an excuse.
You saw it here.
Jane, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Anyway, so we'll be chatting with you all in just a moment. Also coming up a little bit later in the program, one of our more porcine guests.
Porcine?
Yeah, you can look that up later.
Yeah.
And her amphibious friend.
I gotcha.
Stop by to say hello. So that ought to be fun, too.
But before we get to that, let's get a check of the weather from Mr. Roker.
Hey, we are here, and with me is the man I preceded, Mr. Willard Scott. For 17 years, you did the weather on the Today Show. Before that, Bob Ryan was here. And what are you thinking on this 50th birthday?
I just want to say that I have a new Medicare program that's coming out pretty soon.
It's so good to see you.
I think it's great. Have you done the bit about our weather history?
Well, we actually, for time, we had to get rid of it. But
just like the old days.
Just like the old days. They're always cutting the weather.
Yeah. Boom, boom, woo, woo,
Willard Scott, it's so good to see you. He's my mentor.
Thank
Let's
you.
take a look, show you what's going on. No,
I flew up here for that.
This is it. Let's check your weather, see what's going on. You'll see for today we got wet weather in the southeast Gulf Coast, some rain in the Pacific Northwest, snow from the plains to the Great Lakes, 3 to 5 inches in the central Great Lakes, strong winds in northern New England. That's what's going on around the country. It's birthday time.
Well, we're going to do something a little different today, Al.
What are we going to do?
We're not going to salute people who are 100. Guess what?
What?
We're going to salute people who are 50, and it's tied in with guess what?
Our anniversary.
You old devil.
Thank you so much.
I almost fell over. I got so excited. I don't know. Our friends at Smuckers, look at this in the back of our Smuckers jar. 50 years old today. Looks like she's about 16. Elaine Walkup from Long Beach, California. 50 years. Happy birthday. Look at there where
No, she doesn't.
And take a look at Jimmy Cook from New Orleans, Louisiana. Little crayfish, and Boomba Daddy.
Guarantee.
Waka poo poo. And we, in 50 years, and happy birthday, Barbara Walters.
Barbara Nelson.
Nelson of Lugoff, South Carolina, is 50 years old today.
Back when you're done, I'm going to lug you off. That's right.
And then lug nut. That's a funny word. And finally, Janice Fellmeister of Princeton, New Jersey. Is 50. I think Janice is over there somewhere, but we don't have time to show her.
We can't find Janice.
We can't find
Oh, she's over here? There she is right there.
Hi, Janice.
There's Janice.
I get a birthday kiss from Janice.
Ooh. And while Willard's smooching, oh my goodness, let's go back over to Katie before
All right,
we get
Al,
into trouble.
thank you very much. Willard Unplugged. Still to come in this half hour, Tony Bennett's going to be here to sing us a special song. Up next, the troika of Jane Bryant and Joe G. But first, viewers have sometimes wondered why we say a certain 5-word phrase every single morning. Truth is, it's a signal to our local stations to get their commercials ready. So we thought we'd get some help with that this morning. So
This is Today at NBC in New York.
Good morning. This is Today.
This is Today on NBC. But first, this is Today on NBC.
This is Today on NBC.
But first, this is Today on NBC.
This is Today on NBC.
This morning, we're happy to welcome back 3 friends who have more than 35 years of Today experience between them. Dateline NBC anchor Jane Pauley began on Today in the fall of 1976. She was a very small child at the time. She was here for 13 years. Joe Garagiola served as today's all-around good guy from 1966 to 72, then again from 1990 through 1993. He is still a Today contributor. Then there's a guy from another network. We can't give you its name, but its initials are CBS. Bryant Gumbel served longer than any other host on Today for 15 years from 1982 till 1997. Jane, Joe, Bryant, good morning.
Who were those young people?
Happy anniversary to all of you as well.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm fine. Joe, you're the oldest one here.
Yeah, but
He always is. He's always the oldest one.
You're the elder statesman.
That's okay, but being bald, I didn't change that much. These guys changed. Baldness counted for me.
Give me 10 seconds on Jane Pauley's first day. What'd you think? Would she last?
Would I last?
No, would she last?
Well, I thought she would last because I thought easily, working with Bryant, easily.
How about Mr. Gumbel's first day? What do you remember about that?
Oh, well, we had talked before he got on the show.
The All-Star game in Cleveland.
At the All-Star game, we had talked about it, and he came to me and he said, they're talking to me about the Today Show. What do you think? I said, you got to take it. What do you mean I got to take it? I said, you got to take it. You got to do it. And that was the beginning.
Jane, you were 25.
I was a very young 25.
25.
I was an impossibly young 25. Look at that. Look at that. I look like I'm 17.
Wait, if we do the math, then...
Yeah. Replacing Barbara Walters.
If Bryant does the math, I'll still be younger than he is.
Oh, you missed that picture.
How much pressure that first day?
Tom Brokaw was a buffer. Barbara Walters had started on ABC with $1 million salary. That helped. Never enough. I suffered for years before I would come here every morning, as I said before, to Ken. Why me? I'm Jane Pauley from Indianapolis. Well, I was almost going to say Warren Central High School, which I just did. I can't tell you how out of place I felt for many years.
And when you think about going from that mindset, I don't belong here, I'm from, this small place, to covering things like the royal wedding on this show, must have been an amazing morning.
That morning was amazing for another reason that nobody knew but Brokaw. I was pregnant. Did not feel good. And unfortunately, that was the pregnancy that was leaked to the media a week before I miscarried. So I look at that, and I have a different experience looking at that day than anybody else.
So many guests you interviewed over the years, and Joe you were with, and Bryant you were with, and I don't think there's a more impressive guest than to be greeted on the air by the Pope.
He's a good friend of Joe's.
As you two were, what do you remember from that trip?
I was holding, here I am talking about children again. I was holding a picture of my twins for the Pope to bless, which is, I guess, what Bryant told me people did. And I say the word in Italian, gemelli, and he, did.
It means ice cream. That's why he looked at you funny when you went gemelli, and he looked at you like...
He thought it was panettone.
Bryant, 1982, you're a sportscaster, first African-American to hold the hosting chair on this job. You called Joe, you said, what should I do? How was the first day for you?
Matt, the first day was really strange only because I'd come into it with no sleep. I think that weekend I had done the Rose Parade and then proceeded on there to an AFC championship game and had done that and had flown in. I think I arrived something like midnight the night before from doing the AFC championship game. So I didn't really have a lot of time to think about it before the first day. It was just...
Am I right, though? You didn't worry about not preparing because whatever we did that day went away. There had been a plane crash.
No. That was 10 days later.
Oh, only 10 days later.
That's right. When we did the 30th anniversary program, remember that? Okay. The night before, we were having a party at Tavern on the Green. Dave Garraway and everybody was there, and that was when the plane crashed in Washington, the Eastern Airlines plane crash.
But you know how that happens. Whenever, news breaks...
Throw everything else out the window.
The worst thing is if you read a book, big, thick book, and they say the author's canceled. Oh, no, I read the book. I'm going to his house.
Especially for you.
He's going to tell me. Easy for you to say it. But, that used to always get me say, well, he's not going to be on. Oh, no, don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that. That would kill you.
That's my second book this year.
That's right. I had a whole book report. Martin Mayer wrote the book, The Lawyers, that thick. Never forget it. And I interviewed him.
Did you read the book?
I'm glad you did.
Absolutely, I read it, because they thought I was...
I don't mean just the jacket. I mean the book.
I read the whole book. I read the whole book.
1994. earthquake in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Happens on the air. What do you remember?
Yeah, it was a strange time for us. I mean, because it happened while we were on the air, and we went out the next day. And wound up going out there to cover it. You know, Matt, as you well know, a lot of these things, a lot of your memories are from those events, you know, from the assassination of Indira Gandhi, from when they had fighting in the streets in Moscow, from when there was the disturbances following the Rodney King verdict. The ones you always remember are the ones where you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And, it's nice that what happens, all the effort that so many people involved with this program put into it, winds up going through you.
Moscow trip, you received enormous critical acclaim, awards for your interviews while you were over there. Highlight for you, high point in your tenure here?
You know why it was a highlight, Matt? Because I think up until then, most people felt that I couldn't interview anybody tougher than an inside linebacker. And so I think that the fact that I was able to go there and not embarrass myself for a week altered a lot of folks' opinions about what I could and couldn't do in a serious interview format.
We all watched as you got emotional at the end of the Africa trip, which is something you'd pushed for so many years. Jane, I was touched in the Ken Burns piece. This is Africa again, and this is when you closed with Dave Garraway's simple word of peace. And
we will use it just this one time. I'm going to try it just this once. For Africa and from Africa. Peace. If I'd had any sense, I would have shut up because the picture was too free.
Jane, in Ken Burns' tape, you said the toughest part for you was leaving.
I didn't know he was going to ask the question. That was an absolutely spontaneous response. It was. I think as much as I adore Dateline, and I've been there for almost 10 years now, at the end of my career, the invitation I almost want to get is January 14th. I want to be invited back. I love being a member of the Alumni Association. This was the core of my career here.
Joe, if someone had come to you back in 1966 and said, you are going to be a part of this show still in January of 2002.
I would not have believed it because I was like Bryant. All I thought I could say was curveball, spitball, passes and stuff like that. And when they showed confidence and put me in that spot. But you know the great thing about this show? I always remember when my mother died. We were on the set. I was with Hugh and Barbara. And I just couldn't go on anymore. And when the viewers heard that my mother had died, I was just inundated with sympathy cards. Among Muhammad Ali writes me a handwritten one, and I'm saying, you know, you talk about from Indiana. Here's a kid, when they talked to Yogi and me, said, what'd you guys do if you weren't playing baseball? Probably doing 5 to 10. But,
you became part of a lot of families. You became a lot of families. Joe Garagiola, Jane Pauley, Mr. Gumbel.
No problem.
Good to see you all. Happy anniversary to you as well.
Thank you, Matt.
46 past. Up next, another legend, Tony Bennett. But first, this is the 50th anniversary of Today on NBC.
Today's concert is brought to you by America's Egg Farmers and the incredible edible egg.
50 years ago, a young crooner named Anthony Dominic Benedetto topped the charts with his hit song, Because of You. Better known as Tony Bennett, he's been one of the Today Show's favorite guests through the years. Still going strong with the CD Playing with My Friends. He's just received his 20th Grammy nomination. Hey, Tony, nice to see you. How are you?
Oh, it was
I should say happy anniversary to you because this is your 50th year in show business, and you're still going strong.
Oh, yeah. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah,
I'm
he
very
says, yes,
fortunate,
I
yeah.
am. Why do you think you're attracting so many young listeners these days?
Well, they never, you know, they hear I sing Cole Porter or Gershwin or Harold Arlen or, you know, Irving Berlin, and they think they're new songs. They say, who wrote that? They can't believe it.
That guy's pretty good. I think he has the future. Meanwhile, 20 Grammy nominations. I mean, do you have any room left on your mantle? Is it still a thrill for you?
It is. You know, I count my blessings completely. You know, it's wonderful that the public's been so good to me right through the years.
This one's for your duet with Billy Joel, right?
Right.
This Grammy nomination for New York State of Mind,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Yes.
Meanwhile, it's been such a thrill for me in my decade on the show to have you as a special guest. And
you know, my favorite of all the years that I've been on NBC is when you and I did They all laughed at Rockefeller
Oh,
Center.
when you helped me with my fledgling and short-lived singing career. Well, Tony, what are you going to be singing for us this morning?
Well, how about the first song? It was, for 13 weeks, it was #1 in the 50s, and it was a song called Because of You.
Well, it's very appropriate.
Okay.
Tony Bennett and all his pals.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Because of you, there's a song in my heart. Because of you, my romance had its start. Because of you, the sun will shine, the moon and stars will say you're mine forever and never to part. I only live for your love and your kiss. It's paradise to be near you like this. Because of you, my life is now worthwhile, and I can smile because of you. Because of you, my life is now worthwhile, and I can smile because of you.
Tony Bennett. Tony, thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too. Thanks, guys, so much. That was great. You'll be back a little bit later with a special birthday wish. We'll be back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC. Thank you, guys.
Because of you.
Coming up in our next half hour, talk about Material Girl. One of our favorite felt friends will stop by, and she's bringing a frog with her.
Try and be nice, okay?
We're going to try to right past wrongs.
Also, you, the viewers, give us your favorite memories of today. But first, these messages and a look at your local news.
Welcome back to this special 50th anniversary edition of Today on this Monday morning, January the 14th, 2002. And to the strains of the 1952 Les Paul Mary Ford hit Bye Bye Blues, that's a look at our neighborhood here in Rockefeller Plaza as it appeared when Today first went on the air 50 years ago this morning. And things look a little bit different. And they look a little bit different inside Studio 1A. I'm Katie Couric, along with Matt Lauer.
And as a matter of fact, if you look outside, we've gathered some of the classic cars of the era here, along with some of the great folks who are starting their morning with us for our birthday bash. It's always great to see them. Nice to see them in color, as opposed to back in 1952.
And there are some of those great cars from back in the early 50s. Wouldn't you want to drive around in one of those today? You'd create quite a scene, Matt.
Top down, back of the pickup truck.
Saying, hey, baby, want to drag?
Exactly.
Those are really cool. Anyway, we have some more special guests to help celebrate our golden anniversary. You know, we've been showing some of the highlights, but over the years, we've had some moments that, frankly, we're less than proud of. And on this special day, we hope to make amends. Here to help our Kermit the Frog.
Hey there,
Hello,
guys.
Kermit. How are you?
Hey there. Happy 50.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
50. Yeah.
And Miss Piggy as well.
I'm
Hello,
sorry,
Miss Piggy.
hello, dear Matthew, Katerina.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm so sorry you ran that tasteless tape.
You know, I just want to apologize right now. I don't know what got into me, Miss Piggy. Truth is, I've always admired you for bringing home the bacon. Oh.
Uh-oh.
You know, she said she was going
Here
to
we
make
go
up,
again.
and it doesn't seem as if she's turned over a new leaf to me.
She's a very bitter person.
True. I've never strangled you. I want to mention that.
No,
We've kissed.
we've done other things.
We've kissed.
Listen, I don't want to hear about your personal lives, really. This is a family show,
I
Miss
just have
Piggy.
one question for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
How does it actually feel to be on one television show for 50 years of your life?
No. Piggy. No. They haven't actually been here the whole time.
Oh.
No.
Oh, so they're not... Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I apologize. I thought...
Yes,
You know, I watch the Today Show every single day. You know what? First thing I do in the morning?
What?
First of all, I nudge Kermit awake.
Oh, no. As I say, here we go again.
And it's difficult. He wears his blindfolds to sleep.
Yeah, why would that be, do you think? Why exactly?
Careful,
because
Kermit.
you can't close your eyes.
I'm so glad I'm over here.
Well, I have to tell you, in all seriousness, you all are our favorite guests, or two of our favorite guests through
that's
the
sweet.
years.
You know, I was checking...
Wait. You said our favorite guest, and you said two of our favorite guests. What happened?
You are our favorite guest.
Immediately. We went downhill immediately.
We misspoke.
Okay.
I was just going to say, you know, we've been on the show over 100 times.
Yes.
It
Wow.
was January of 1960 was our first show.
And I want
yes,
to, the Muppets, as you say, and I want to say congratulations to you all. You'll turn the big 5-0 in the year 2005, I understand.
What?
Oh, my gosh, wait. Miss Piggy, Kermit? Somebody's in...
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh. Who is that?
Piggy, hi, Kermit. It's me. Hi,
She
how
looks
are
like she's
you?
in an aquarium.
I've been here like 40
My
minutes.
goodness.
I don't know what happened. Do not feed the animals. I know.
Hi, Rosie.
I'm just here to say happy birthday and
We can't hear her,
anniversary,
can we?
and I have a show now, but I love everyone there.
Oh, Rosie,
well,
thank you for coming by.
And I think Al's going to chat with you in just a second. You're sweet to stop by. Thank you very much.
Donuts. Go ahead. Finish.
Thank you, Rosie, so much.
Kermit, Miss Piggy, thank you very much for your visit. Thanks for the nice wishes and helping us celebrate our 50th anniversary.
You're welcome.
Thank
yes,
you
yes.
so much.
One
Thank
more
you.
time.
50 more, right?
Thank you. Yes,
Yes,
we
yes.
hope so.
Piggy,
Yes, dear. Easy. Yes.
let's not let bygones be bygones, okay? Friends?
Yeah.
Bye, Kermit.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
Bye-bye.
see
Good to see you both.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Coming up in this half hour, we'll take you back to 1952 and give you an idea of how the world of today opened a window on the world 50 years ago.
That's right, and we're going to have a visit from some women who are part of the history of this program. Believe it or not, Miss Piggy, they were called Today Girls, and you probably know some of them. Florence Henderson, Estelle Parsons, Lee Merriweather, and Betsy Palmer. Today's girls.
Betsy.
The
Yeah.
Noive, huh?
No.
Anyway.
Yep.
They're all women today.
That's right.
Times have changed. First,
Yes,
let's
they
get a
have.
check of the weather from Al.
Today's weather is brought to you by America's Egg Farmers and the incredible edible egg.
You know, we would have had you in the studio, but Miss Piggy locked the door.
You know, that's what I heard, frankly. But they had me begging about 40 minutes before I was supposed to. It looked like I escaped from a hospital or something.
We had called security and everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been on the show a lot, and it's been a big party. I know you grew up here in New York. The Today Show's a big deal for you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I've been watching it since I was a kid. I remember my mom used to watch it every morning, and it's a great show every day. I walk past all the crowd here and see them as I go to work, and it's a wonderful tradition here in the country.
Well, we thank you for being such a good friend of the show. We
Good to
appreciate
see you,
it.
Al.
Alrighty.
Happy birthday.
All right, thanks a
I
lot.
gotta
Rosie
go.
O'Donnell,
Bye.
she got a show to do. All right, let's check your weather, see what's going on, and we'll show you that basically what we're looking at for today. We got wet weather in the southeast, Gulf Coast, also a lot of snow in the central Great Lakes, rain in the northwest. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. Latest weather, now here's Matt.
All right, Al, thank you very much. As everyone knows by now, the Today Show premiered 50 years ago today in 1952. But what was the world like back then? We asked our national correspondent, Jamie Gangel, to take a look at the year 1952. Hi, Jamie. Good morning. Happy anniversary.
Matt, thank you. Good morning. There was a lot happening in history. We had a new queen, we had a new president, and many now historic figures were just starting their careers. So we took a look at life back then.
With World War II over, it is the height of the baby boom.
The most beautiful girl in the world.
picks my ties out, she eats my candy, she drinks my brandy. Most beautiful girl in the world.
In fact, there is a boom in almost everything. Cars and sock hops are big, so is Frank Sinatra.
Most beautiful girl in the world.
A postage stamp is 3 cents, the average salary $3,900, and the suburbs are exploding. A 3-bedroom house costs $9,000. On the breakfast table, Tony the Tiger makes his debut.
Great!
Along with Gleam to wipe out the inevitable cavities and the newest laundry detergent to take care of the spills.
That's right, Martha Wright. There has been a change in cheer.
From Natchez to Mobile, from Memphis to St. Joe, wherever...
People are also taking to the road. Holiday Inn opens its first motel, and for the first time, you can get there in a car with air conditioning, perhaps by using the brand new New Jersey Turnpike. And according to historian David McCullough, himself then a student at Yale University, 1952 is also the dawn of consumerism.
Everything was increasing since the war in material abundance in the country. It was a time of wonderful new ideas, new products. There were jobs. We were really on an upswing.
I wonder what they'll do in 1952.
It is also an important year politically. Riding the crest of his wartime popularity, a former general is elected president.
They like Ike.
Across the pond, a princess becomes queen.
I walked down the street like a good girl should. He followed me down the street like I knew he would be.
And a dashing young couple are both in the news separately. John F. Kennedy is the new senator from Massachusetts. Jackie Bouvier is engaged, but to the wrong guy. She breaks it off and marries the right one.
You are about to hear a report from Senator Richard Nixon.
It is also the year Richard Nixon gives his checkers speech, defending himself against accusations of financial impropriety.
I should say this, that Pat doesn't have a mink coat, but she does have a respectable Republican cloth coat. And I always tell her that she'd look good in anything.
Other newsmakers in 1952, in science, Jonas Salk becomes a hero for the polio vaccine. In sports, the Yankees do what they do so well, win the World Series over the Dodgers, then still in Brooklyn.
I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus.
And in music, at the top of the charts, the #1 hit is a Christmas classic, while everyone thinks that doing this is cool.
You wore khaki pants, which are still around, and white shoes, which were supposed to be dirty white shoes.
Unforgettable.
And it is the dawn of television, if you have one. Everyone watches the same few shows, the most popular still classics. 2 guys named Jack, one a bus driver, one a cop, and 2 comedians, one who never stops talking, one who only says meep, meep. And of course the familiar sound of these chimes saying it's time to start your day.
That was Ed McMahon, and for the record, none of us were born in 1952.
Thank you for straightening that out. Jamie, thanks so much. We appreciate it. We're back with much more right after these messages.
Today's 50th anniversary moment is brought to you by Royal Caribbean. Get out there and take a Royal Caribbean vacation.
It's difficult to believe sitting here in the year 2002, but in the early days, some of our most valuable players were actually called Today Girls. They included actresses, models, and even a Miss America. They did weather and fashion segments and, at times, important interviews. And each of them went on to successful careers in movies, television, and the stage as well. Among the famous faces that graced America's TV screens are Estelle Parsons, who was here at the very beginning, Lee Merriweather, Florence Henderson, and Betsy Palmer. Good morning to all of you. It is so great to see you all.
Wonderful to be here.
I have to say, looking great as ever. Estelle, I know that you were here. First of all, you were hired as a production assistant.
Yeah.
You were never a so-called Today girl,
no, I
were
was here
you?
before Dave was. There were 8 of us who put it together. It was my first job in New York. In fact, I only came to visit from Marblehead, Massachusetts. And I got this job, and there were just 8 of us. And we were auditioning Henry Morgan, Gary Moore, Dave Garraway, all these people.
And you
finally
actually
settled on Dave. So I was a production assistant, and I was doing at that time features, you know, all kinds of features, calling people. Did they want their books on? Did they want, you know, all that stuff.
And you were the first female political reporter back in those days. So,
I was.
I mean, that was very impressive for the 50s.
We were in this thing like here, only, you know, it was much smaller, and we were walking around. And Dave came to me one day and said, you wrote this book review, why don't you do it on the air?
He sounds like he was a great guy in that way.
So that's how I
A
went
real
in,
equal opportunity person, wasn't he?
I
Some
don't
of the
think
time.
so. I think he was just trying to make a good show.
And he'd have a chimp do it if necessary, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it was morning television. Nobody thought it would last. I think that's how I got a job on it. I just came out of Marblehead. What did I know about TV?
I know that you
And the people who were on TV really didn't want to be on it because they thought it wouldn't last. I was in London when they started morning TV. It was the same way. People said, this won't last. Nobody will watch in the morning. I said, wait.
There's a funny story when you interviewed Eleanor Roosevelt. She was quite elderly.
Yeah.
And something bad happened during that interview.
What?
She fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
During the interview?
That wasn't bad.
Well, she was very old. She died shortly thereafter. And
It was a thrill, actually, I'm sure, for you to get a chance to meet her face to face.
I had known her before. She
Really?
was the first, yeah, I came to a political convention, to a meeting in New York and met her. She was the first, like, Eleanor Roosevelt. And so I walked up to her and I said, I'm Estelle Parsons, and I waited for her to be effusive over me, and she was waiting for me
to be effusive over her.
Eleanor Roosevelt, and I was just standing there.
I was going to say, you both did a lot of waiting then.
I learned.
Lee Merriweather, I know that you got a job, offered a job shortly after you were crowned Miss America.
Yes.
You were called on the road, and someone said, hey, do you want to be a part of the Today Show, right?
Exactly that, in the middle of Penn Station. I got a page and the phone call, and they said, would you be interested? And I said, but I can't. I'm touring America and South America and Canada.
So how did you work it out?
After the migraine, after the year was over. And I said, could I just have a month afterwards to sleep, please? And so a little bit.
And what were your duties here on the show?
Well, I was officially billed the first woman's editor on the air. And so I would do all the women's features, fashion shows, news bent toward women.
You got some pretty cool interviews, though, Lee. I know you interviewed Marlon Brando one time, which was pretty exciting. He was kind of shaken because...
It was the premiere of Guys and Dolls. And, you have the footage. Oh, how wonderful. I'm thrilled.
Look at you, too.
He was so nervous. His hand shook, and I said, what's the matter? I forgot that I was interviewing him. And he said a woman had just pushed her hand through the window of his cab.
Oh, my. You mean through the glass?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he was very upset about
bad
that.
for the arteries.
Quite nervous about it.
You also got to be quite friendly with J. Fred Muggs.
Oh, yeah. Dave and I.
And you said he was more like, he was more like a little kid, right?
He really was. Look, I mean, we had great fun together.
He bit me.
Well, we're not going to get into that, Estelle.
Sorry.
Actually, it was my fault when it happened. But no, he was incredible. This little person.
Chimpanzee.
He really was a little person, though. I mean,
yeah.
dressed and
Kokomo
everything.
was, too.
But on the plane, you mentioned the plane. He was sitting there, and I could see him through because I sat in front of him and watched him. And the plane took off, and it banked into the sun, and he reached up and pulled the blind down.
And then he said, can I have some peanuts and a Coke? Betsy, you had 2 jobs when you were here on this program. When
Did
you were
I?
So-called Today Girl, right? In addition to the Today Show, you were a panelist on I've Got a Secret,
Oh,
right?
and I've Got a Secret, yeah.
So you were
and
one busy
theater,
girl.
Too. Yes, that's true.
And
Always have loved to be, too.
The Today
Yes.
Show really opened a lot of doors for you, I know.
Well,
you felt.
actually, I've Got a Secret, which I did for 11 years, opened many, 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 many doors. And I think it was because of being on Secret that they probably had me on the Today Show. And that's why I left the Today Show, was because I wanted to be an actress.
And it was bad enough being associated with a game show, you know, to then to be doing this other. And it was just, it took, I could really tell that it really was going to be a full-time job, and I just wanted to act.
You had a very funny story where you were interviewing the author of a book, and the producer, for some unknown reason, told the author of the book that you didn't like the book at all. So
Well,
what happened on the air?
I'll tell you what, it was Rona Jaffe, and she had written a book called All I Want Is Everything. And the gal who had put the spot together, I was saying to her, because I brought the book in the next morning, and I said, I really didn't get through this. I said, first of all, you know, I said, this is really a mess. I really don't like this book a lot. So just as the red light went on, when Rona and I were sitting there, she said, I hear that you really hate my book. And I said, and I always tell the truth, at least I try. I said, well, to tell you the truth, it really was not my cup of tea. And I said, and I really didn't even get through it all last night. And I said, I just have to be honest that there are other kinds of literature that I prefer.
And she ended up being pretty nice about it and saying she appreciated when someone spoke the truth.
You know, and we became really nice, not friends, but certainly acquaintances.
So much for I've got a secret, right? Meanwhile, Florence, tell me a little bit about your experience working here. What do you most remember about it, Florence?
Well, I did everything. I most remember that I got pregnant on the show. Not on the show.
Now that would be groundbreaking television.
You didn't know Dave had it in him, did you? No, but that was my boldest memory, and the fact that they didn't want me to use the word pregnant. Try not to say that word.
Right, and they covered you. I mean, they took great pains to put potted plants, anything that would cover your belly.
Yeah, I sang behind
and wasn't
furniture.
there a lot of fan mail that would come in that were all upset about it?
I remember
with
one,
Helen O'Connell, too.
One saying, how dare you sit up there in your hatching jackets. Oh, and I never forgot that letter.
Well, may I say, we've come a long way, baby, haven't we? Anyway, it's so great to see you all, and thank you so much for coming by to help us celebrate and sharing some of your memories on this program with us.
Thank you, Katie.
Anyway, we'll be back with more of this very special 50th anniversary edition of Today right after these messages.
We just want to let you know you can purchase a VHS version of selected highlights of today's 50th anniversary by calling 1-800-420-2626.
Dial now. Operators are standing by. Still to come on Today, more Today Show alumni. But first, these messages and your local news.
The hour on this Monday morning. It's the 14th day of January 2002, a birthday celebration for today as we celebrate 50 years of broadcasting. And you're listening to the Hellcats, part of the United States Military Academy Band. That's the Army's oldest active band and the oldest unit at West Point. This morning they're under the direction of Sergeant Major David Breezy, and we thank them for helping us celebrate 50 years. And by the way, if you think we're having a big celebration, we should tell you that the folks at West Point are celebrating their bicentennial, so we congratulate them on that terrific achievement. And outside Studio 1A, I'm Matt Lauer along with Katie Couric and Ann Curry.
I feel like we should be marching around the plaza.
Coming up in this half hour, we could not be on the air for 50 years if it weren't for the people at home watching, so we'll pay tribute to our viewers in just a few minutes, and then you have some special guests.
I do. We're going to be talking to my predecessors in the anchoring chair, the news anchoring chair. Faith Daniels is here, Deborah Norville, Mr. Edwin Newman, and John Palmer, all joining us in this half hour.
And I think that drum's going to continue for the entire half hour. Also, Gene Shalit has seen thousands of movies through the years, interviewed hundreds of celebrities. Obviously, Gene has some terrific memories of being on this program. He'll be here to share those with us. And also, Tony Bennett's going to sing us a special happy birthday song.
You know, we could broadcast for 50 years, but without people at home watching, it would be ridiculous. So we sent NBC's Bob Dodson across the country to talk to viewers and have them share their memories of today.
Look out! We don't remember days. We remember moments.
Now go away. One of my very earliest memories is of J. Fred Muggs
stealing the set. I was drawn in by this wonderful little chimp.
Barbara Vaughn and her brother Richard Miller grew up with Today, literally.
I was bigger and meaner and bossier, and so I actually invented this little game that I played Jack Lascooley and made him be J. Fred Muggs and make him sit down and be quiet a lot.
I want to be like him, you know. I mean, nobody tells him what to do, right? He does his own thing.
More than 1,200 television shows on NBC have come and gone since Today signed on. But this show survives. Viewers across the country tell us why.
It's the first show that I remember watching that I felt like this connection to someplace else in the world. My town was very small, so to see all these people walking by that window was a sense that there was a big city, a larger world out there.
There are a lot of places people like me can never go, never see, never do. And it opened an opportunity to see these things and go those places and meet those people.
I rely on the Today Show to bring that world to me, and that's why I always come back to it, because I feel a connection.
Thank you so much. Now,
This show thrives, they say, not just because of its anchors or news coverage, its travels or guests, but because from the beginning we have had a mission.
A very great sense of history.
We're going to try very much to put you more closely in touch with the world we live in.
I think Dave Garroway invented the peace sign.
We'll see you about that same old time then.
At the end of every hour, Dave would hold his hand up.
Thank you for this morning, and peace.
I thought that was a very direct and simple and beautiful statement, all in one word. Look at what we're facing today. If Dave were around, he'd still be saying that.
When the bombings first happened, on September 11th, I completely turned the TV off.
Leanne Lopez did not want the images of terror to traumatize her 6-year-old son, Bryce. He was already worried that his idol, Matt Lauer, was too close to ground zero.
When I was 2, I dressed like Matt Lauer.
He started wearing shirts that only buttoned. That's what we really noticed. At least he's never wanted to dress up like Jennifer Lopez.
Most of all, after September 11th, he just wanted to see Matt again.
We turned the TVs on when they stopped showing all of the images quite so much. Bryce kind of walked into the room while I was watching it, and he said, "Oh, there's Matt. He's okay. That's good." It was a sign that, okay, things are getting back to normal.
The Today Show lasts, they say, because every day it's the story of us. And so, for 50 years, Today Show fans have been amazingly loyal. But little Bryce Lopez told his mom the other day he no longer would dress like Matt Lauer.
He said, "Well, I want to be handsome, but not too handsome."
Not to worry. Some things do not go out of fashion. For today, Bob Dotson, NBC News, New York.
Aw, what a cute story. Little Bryce, you need to invite him up as your guest on the show.
Bryce, everything's all right. We're returning to normal.
Anyway, now time for a check of the weather with Mr. Roker here on the plaza. It's cold out.
Yes, it is, Katie, but it's actually 40 degrees. It's a nice temperature for January. We're doing okay.
In other words, stop complaining.
Stop
right?
whining is what I was going to say. Well, we'll have wine later with our toast. But first of all, and hopefully you're having an English muffin, we've got Elliot Cooker here. He runs Cooper's Classic Cars, and you brought a bunch of 1952 cars here. What people were driving when Dave Garroway first broadcast the show. Give us just a quick rundown. What's this one?
This is a Plymouth. It's a business coupe. This is the bare bones coupe.
And then the next one?
The next one over here is a Chrysler, which is a family sedan.
You got a convertible.
Then over here is a sexy, sporty car. This is a convertible.
And pickups were big back then.
Oh, pickups were very big back then. They were used by farmers. They were used by businessmen. And now pickups are the chicest, hottest things in the market.
And you got a Cadillac here.
And this was the ultimate. This was the finest car that we had here in America. If you were rich, you had to have a Cadillac. And this was a beautifully made car. This was our American Rolls Royce. And this is the convertible.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Elliot Cooker. Cooper Classic Cars. What Dave Garroway and the gang would have been driving back in 1952. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. What do you want? I can wrap them up for you.
I'll take the pickup truck, Al.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Coming up on this 50th anniversary, some of the people who brought you the news every morning. But first, these messages.
Since March 1997, I've held the job of news anchor here on Today, and I've been very proud to carry the torch for my many distinguished predecessors, 4 of whom join us this morning. Edwin Newman, Deborah Norville, John Palmer, and Faith Daniels. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Pleasure to see all of you. Let's start with you, Mr. Newman, because you actually have been on the show since it began. You were first a correspondent, and then in 1961, you became the news anchor. One of the major stories that you covered was the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. Was that a highlight for you?
Yes, 50 years ago, wasn't it?
It was. And what do you remember of the moment of covering the story? You were in London, obviously.
I was in London, and of course, essentially what you did in those days, even though today's show is television, you were doing, in effect, what were radio pieces to accompany film or photographs that somehow could be put on in New York. You'd do a spot to go along with footage that that New York had or was hoping to get. Might take a day or two to get there.
One of the things that you did that was so innovative is that you actually interviewed yourself for your book, which became a bestseller, called Strictly Speaking, and that's a book about language. Why did you do that?
Well, I was very happy to do it, but I can't claim any credit for it. The idea that I should do the interview with myself was Stuart Schulberg. Stuart was the producer of the show in those days. And the theory behind it was that nobody else was capable of interviewing me on the subject of English.
Did you like the book, Ed?
We all love the book, really. Exactly. We read it in college, in fact. Deborah, you became the news anchor in 1989, and then later you became the anchor of the show,
Right.
co-anchor of the show. And it has gone through many innovations since Edwin Newman's time. But, you know, one of the things that you remember the most is a segment you did with Jane Pauley.
Yeah, when you were the news anchor in those days, as is still the case, oftentimes if in that case Jane or Bryant weren't around, you would just end up doing both jobs. You would do your job as the news anchor, and then you'd pop over and be the co-host. And this was Christmas time. And at that time, Today was doing the 12 days of Christmas, and this particular day was gifts for the chef. And on this day, I was going to talk about the products, and Jane was sort of the Carol Merrill role. And the product we were talking about was a overnight bread maker. And it was, remember, it made the square loaves of bread, and I think we've got a clip, so maybe we just throw it up there. Let's see what happens. It didn't really work. And if there's someone on your list who loves to cook, here are some suggestions for you. And I am being assisted this morning by the noted culinary expert, Jane Pauley. This is a bread maker. I have a bread knife and the butter. You work on the bread, I'll work on the butter. Oh, it came out. Look at this. How unusual. This is the hottest seller by Faberware. It's a microwave coffee maker. Stick it in the microwave, and you cook it for 2 minutes. I don't know how to make this go.
Make it go?
Sorry.
Microwave.
Live I couldn't find the button to make the thing cook. I had come in at 4 in the morning to practice putting the water, and Jane couldn't slice the bread. I couldn't make the microwave go. And the next day, when I came into work, there was a little name and a star on my door and one on Jane's, and mine said Ethel, and hers said Lucy.
John, you became the news anchor before Deborah in 1982, and one of the running jokes was that, you know, you were never allowed to go on some of these trips. And in fact, let's take
It wasn't a joke.
Not to you, anyway. Let's take a look at this one.
John, thank you. I'll manage to say it at least once each day. We do miss you. We wish you were along.
Back now to all that fun in New Orleans and Brian James.
John, we do miss you. I made a commitment that I'd say that at least once a day, every day this week, and so now you got it.
Back to Buenos Aires and Brian Campbell.
All right, John, thanks very much. We wish you could be down here enjoying some of this nice weather with us.
Back to Rome, the Vatican, and Brian.
We do miss you. We want you to know that.
Back once more to Rio and Brian.
All right, John, have I told you we missed you today?
Well, you did, however, get to take one
Yeah,
trip.
there was one that was on the Norway, an ocean liner that went down the East Coast, and I got to go one day and enjoy the Caspian Sea down there.
Okay. I'm so sorry that we're running out of time.
Yes, of the United States.
But Faith, I've got to ask you, you started this job in 1990, and there was one moment, and we're going to take a look at this as we're talking about
I
it.
think it's the coronation of the Queen, and my defining moment is this.
Right, exactly. A light blows.
The Democratic Party's front-running presidential candidate is trying to... I
think we just blew a light.
What did you think happened?
I knew it was a light blown because I was once reading a story about a mob hit and a light blew, and everybody took cover, you know, when it went. So I knew right away, but the guys on the crew, I think, were more startled than I.
I know, exactly. At one point, Mark Traub, our stage manager, has a hard hat on as well. It is great to see all of you. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Anne.
There he is.
Faith Daniels.
That's what I remember most of the good times behind the scenes. You guys are all terrific to work with.
And that is actually true still today. Edwin Newman, Deborah
Thank
Neville,
you.
thank you so much,
Thank
all
you.
four of you, for joining us. All right, up next, the hardest working movie critic in television history, Gene Shalit's greatest hits. But first, this is a special 50th anniversary edition of Today on NBC.
Now, are you happy with what you've done to my hair?
Oh, no, I should have known.
Not quite right?
No, it's okay.
It's okay now?
Well, I can't help it.
I can't either.
Gene Shalit has been covering the world of entertainment on Today for more than 30 years, and over that time he's seen thousands of movies, so we asked him to put together one of his own. Gene, good morning.
Well, we have a little one. You know, the past 30 years on this show for me have been filled with laughter. And one thing that I've known is what camera to look for, where the laugh will come from, and where the laughter will start.
What a pleasure to be here with Gene Shalit. This is NBC, the best, Gene Shalit.
One bright day, Academy Award-winning Italian actor and comedian Roberto Benigni and I were taking a stroll around Lincoln Center in New York City when a whole group of Italian tourists showed up, and they were startled to see their hero. Stand up here. Stand up on this chair. These people all came to see the Pope in Colorado.
They met the Pope and Benigni.
I'm going to ask them, Pope or Benigni, and whoever gets the loudest cheer wins.
Allora lui ora dice il nome e voi applaudite. Quello che applaude di più c'ha la migliore. Vai.
Okay.
Wait.
First, the Pope. Okay, now Roberto Benigni. I think it's a tie.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks has spent his whole life making people laugh. So I remember the day that I said, Mel, what makes you laugh?
A Jewish man about 72, 73, rocking on the porch of a Borscht Belt resort, singing, dancing in the dark, in the wrong key. Starting too high. Dancing in the dark. That's too high, he started. That's a high song. You don't start there. Kill the tune and we're dancing in the dark, and it's so nice as we can face the music. It's on dancing in the dark. It's very hard.
Not everything starts out funny. Expect the unexpected. That's the rule on the Today Show. We were doing a story in a dining car on Amtrak, cruising along the Hudson River. You know, this may be the only restaurant in the world with a moving mural. Nothing funny about that until you see an outtake from the cutting room floor. You know, I think this may be the only restaurant in the world that has what used to be a moving mural. When Carol Channing began telling me about a London dinner party conversation, I didn't know what was going to happen next. What happened next was that I laughed my Lady Astor off.
I told him when I close my show here, I would like to go to Istanbul. And he said, when you go to Istanbul, so I said, I beg your pardon. So he said, I say, when you go to Istanbul, so finally, after repeating it 3 or 4 times, I said to Lady Astor, do you know what is Sir Benjamin saying? And she said, oh, he's saying, when you get to Istanbul, you must taste the cherries. They're as big as golf balls. So I said, well, now, wait a minute. I said, how do you know what the judge said? So Lady Astor said, she said, oh, well, that's what they always say when you're on your way to Istanbul.
And we want to close this morning with a magnum of a very special wine, Chateau Latour of 1952. The wine experts who found this, John Brecher and Dorothy Gayer, co-authors of the Wall Street Journal's Tastings column. Thank you so much to you all.
It's a 1952 Chateau Latour. Great year for TV, not a great year for wine, except for this one.
All right, thank you very much. You know, as we say goodbye, of course, some things do stand the test of time. National monuments like Mount Rushmore, qualities like kindness and compassion, insects like cockroaches, and performers like Cher, and people like you. With gratitude, respect, and affection, we salute you all.
And because change has always been one of the trademarks of today, we know that we'll only occupy these jobs for a certain amount of time. So why don't we all raise a glass and toast the people who have the privilege of being a part of today over these next 50 years. Cheers, and thank you so much.
Cheers, and cheers. Hi, Jonah. Nice to see you. We want to thank everyone who helped us celebrate and say, with all our hearts on this Monday morning here on Today, Jonah's very fascinated by our wine, by the way.
How you doing?
He recognizes his uncle.
Thanks for the memories, everybody.
Here we are. Good morning. All right, Dave. Brother Galloway, are you there?
That's the easiest thing I've done all morning.
Monday again, fans. In time for today.
This would be unnecessary. Step
aside with this burgeoning along with the day.
Friendship, this is the only way I know. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Barbara. How are you?
National anthem.
That's right. 1930.
Star Spangled Banner is white and
colleges and universities. Because Arizona...
Same old John.
The victims of Alzheimer's. The selection of
8:05. And we'll switch our attentions to Facebook.
Feeling, Bob, I'm sure.
Anyway, who is who? Bundled up and hatted up, Katie Couric.
Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
No.
Thank you, and peace.